keep it real with ya.
So somebody also says they don't like to tell people they're ace because for some reason when they tell people they're ace, people who they don't feel are ace be like, oh yeah, that's me. It's probably how you're describing it. So like I said, I describe asexuality as you don't experience sexual attraction. Full stop. When I describe it that way and I give the example of I personally don't ever want to have sex ever. But even if I wasn't that type of person, when I first was saying it, I was kind of like, that sounds extreme. I'd be like, if I was to never have sex, I would be 100% okay with that. It does not bother me at all that I am not in a sexual relationship, or it does not bother me at all that I've never had sex. When I say stuff like that to allosexual people, they're like, what the fuck? They're like, what, huh? No, that's impossible. You can't possibly feel like that. That's how they understand that that's a different thing. If you say something along the lines of, I'm just not that impressed by sex, or it just doesn't seem like that big of a deal to me, or I just don't really feel the urge to have sex that much. A lot of allos are gonna say, yeah, that's me, because who doesn't go through periods where they don't have a high libido or where they have a low libido or they don't feel like having sex? Like my mother told me the second time I talked to her about this that, oh, that sounds like me, because she's postmenopausal and she was in a relationship with someone she wasn't sexually attracted to. So they hadn't had sex in a long time. See, I shouldn't know all these details, but I did. They hadn't had sex in a long time and she didn't want to have sex with them. So she felt that, oh, that sounds like me, because if I don't have sex with him, I'm not bothered by that. You know what I mean? Versus ideal situation, if you were in a relationship with someone who you found to be attractive in any way, because allos don't differentiate, would you be upset if that person didn't want to have sex with you? And usually an allo will say yes, because they'll say, but I want to have sex with them. You know, people who are celibate will say, oh, that sounds like me. And I tell them again, ideal situation, you meet the man of your dreams and he wants to marry you, and he wants to, you know, if they already have kids, raise your kids, or adopt kids or whatever. He checks all your boxes, and y'all are going to be married, and it's your wedding night, and he says, I don't want to have sex with you. Is that going to bother you? If he says, I am not into having the act of having sex, I don't find people sexually attractive. I love you, but I don't find anyone sexually attractive, let alone you. And I don't want to have sex in this relationship. Is that going to bother you? And the allo is going to say yes, because they want to have sexual relationships. They enjoy them. They desire them. They fantasize about them. When they meet people that they like, they want to engage in sexual relationships with them. Like, that is how allos work. So that is a good way to tell. And if this is somebody who you know, like your friend or your family member, you're going to know that they're not ace. You know, I have a very hypersexual family. Even when they go through dry spells where they don't have as much sex as everybody else in the family, they're still very much heterosexual. You know, you can see it in the way they act. And I feel like there are some people who may think, like, I could easily, like, even if I was straight, I have family members who will take their lunch break at work to go have sex with their partner or somebody that ain't their partner, whatever. I could easily feel like, wow, I'm not having as much sex as they are. I'm not as interested in sex as they are. Something must be wrong with me. Like, you could easily feel like that and be allosexual just because society tells you that people have an easy time having sex. But if you even look in like the lesser known historical documents from gay people who know they gay, romantic, homosexual, all the stuff, and they'll feel like, damn, all the videos make it seem like you can get it up like that, like it's super easy, but I'm having these sexual encounters where I'm nervous and I'm not able to get an erection as fast as I thought that I'm supposed to, or as fast as I think that everyone else is. And by today's standards, someone in the ace community said, well, you must be ace because you should have been, you know, super turned on and ready to go. No, they're still gay. They just ain't as, it's just they don't get erections as fast as other people. Or even if they were lesbian, they don't get aroused as fast as they think that they're supposed to. It doesn't mean that you're ace. It just means that your hormones are working normally. I really feel like normally you shouldn't be popping erections like the way that they tell you that you do in the movies. It just don't happen like that. Allie Ghostface, love you. Always commenting on every video. Talked about aces in history. The issue with finding aces in history is part of what I just said. Of right now, we do not have a clear definition of, well, Avon has a clear definition, but all the communities are making up sexual orientations out the wazoo, and they're just throwing them all into the asexual umbrella like we're some kind of dumpster. But the problem with that is you gonna have to fight the gay community. You gonna have to fight the lesbian and gay community, and maybe even the bi community. I don't know. To find aces in history, because, and I'm gonna tell you this, I was in a queer history course, and I've talked about it a little bit. Most of the people in the queer history class were gay, or trans, or NB, or any of that. Very radical. And the class was called Queer History because of the fact that we were looking at relationships that were against the norm for sexual and romantic relationships at the time. That's why it was called Queer History, because we weren't specifically looking at gay or lesbian history or trans history. We were looking at people who did not fit into the normal, what was normal at the time. The people in my class thought it was gay history. They were there for the gayness. They were there to read all the stories of the gays in history. They were there to find the gays in history. Naturally, we talked about Stonewall, but we went even further back before that, because the terms like heterosexual and homosexual, those were really coined around the 1800s. So we were like, if you go back further than that, you know, we're looking at relationships that are not clearly coded as gay or straight. And there was one story of a woman who was said to live with her best friend instead of being married. Everybody in the class immediately was like, lesbians, they're lesbians. And I'm sitting here like, I'd like to live with my best friend and not get married because I'm ace, and that would be a nice queer platonic relationship. But I couldn't say shit because they were radical gay people. Y'all know who I'm talking about. And to look for ace people or aromantic people even who decided to be single for the rest of their life or decided to live with their best friend, gay people are immediately going to claim those people as gay icons. They are immediately going to say, oh, he never got married. He was obviously gay and had a bunch of lovers that nobody talked about. Oh, she lived with her best friend for the rest of her life. They were obviously lesbians, and people are just lying about what they were doing because they don't want to admit that they were lesbians. That's why they said that. That's who you're going to be fighting against when trying to find a asexual, aromantic icon, especially given that the word asexual is fairly new compared to the other words. So it's very, very difficult to find aces in history past when Avon was created, basically, because of the fact that gay people ain't gonna let you take their gay icons, you know. Some gay icons are easy, you know. They were very, very much open about their sexuality. They slept with this person, that person, that person. But when you go back to the more conservative time periods, it's gonna be a fight, unfortunately, because they're gonna see us trying to claim someone as asexual and be like, y'all just straights trying to erase bi history and gay history. That's what they're gonna do. Siam or Siam said that they wanted to know what are the joys of asexuality. They also said something about asexual erotics, which I don't know what that is. If I had to guess what that might be, there are some ace kink groups that I'm in where, you know, I respectfully listen to what people say and how they can enjoy kink in a non-sexual way, or how they can be turned on by the kink itself or a certain fetish or something like that versus being turned on by the person. So I like listening to them talk about that, you know, and I'm just very respectful because, you know, I'm not a kink person, but I'll listen to them. I'll see what they got to say. So maybe that's what you're talking about. I don't know. But Joys of asexuality, I would say, for me personally, and I feel more joy about it as time goes on. One thing I will say is I'm not as, like, I do not have relationship drama. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm single. I've tried to date. Oh, look, the sun's going down because I've been recording for so long. Anyway, there we go. I'm single. I've tried to date. It doesn't work out. But when I talk to my friends who are trying to date people, I notice that sexual attraction kind of clouds their judgment a lot. Like, I'll be talking to somebody and I'll be like, y'all are not compatible at all. What is happening here? And they'll be telling me about all the toxic stuff in the relationship and just everything they'll tell me. You know, I'm being triangulated. Everything they'll tell me is all the negative stuff. You know, this person has these problems, this problem, these problems. They yell at me for things that I didn't do. They get angry at me a lot, you know, for trying to be nice to them. They don't want me to be nice to them. They treat me poorly. And they'll tell me all of this stuff. And I'll be like, okay, tell me the good things. And they'll be like, well, they're the most beautiful person I've ever seen. Like, they just look at them. And they'll send me a picture. Be like, look at them. Look at them. Oh my God, they just look so good. And I'd be like, so is the only reason that you're putting up with this because you're sexually attracted to this person? And they're like, it's not even that. It's not even that. It's not even that. And I'm like, seems like it. The only justification you've given me for wanting to continue engaging with this person is because of how good they look, you know? And I don't like, I mean, like, yeah, they look good, but it's, to me, that wouldn't be enough to put up with a toxic relationship where I'm treated poorly, or to begin a toxic relationship where you're treated poorly in the beginning. Like, you haven't even invested that much time in this relationship and you're like, I'm going to deal with it because of how good they look. And I'm just like, sound to me like something's clouding your judgment here. And they won't believe me, obviously. But I feel like aces are less, like, we don't get into that as much. I've said in other videos, you know, like, I could think that you're ugly. And if I like you, like, if we've been talking and we vibe and all that stuff, we get along really well, we have a lot of similar interests, I would still consider dating you, even if I think that you're ugly, because the aesthetics doesn't matter as much to me when I'm choosing a partner. Now, don't get me wrong. As I said in the dating video, there are a lot of aces who the aesthetics matter very much to them. But I feel like our judgment is less clouded by the sexual aspect. Like, I feel like, and I've asked this question multiple times, so if there is somebody in the comments who does have this experience, my bad. But I've asked in multiple groups about this. I've not met an ace who has random hookups. I've not met an ace who has gone to a bar, saw somebody, and had sex with them immediately. I've not met aces who have chosen to go out and have sexual encounters with a bunch of different people outside of maybe they have something else going on that's making them think that they have to do that. Because you can be an ace and be a sex worker. That's fine. But I've not met aces who've done it. I've not met aces who've done the whole you have somebody who you just meet them to have sex, and then now from the sexual attraction, now you're feeling like y'all want to be together and all that stuff, like they be doing in the movies. I've not met aces or heard from aces who have those experiences. So I think in that way, we kind of are a bit different. Another thing that I think that I like about being ace is that I can separate sex from everything but sex. You know what I mean? We live in such a hypersexual society that everything is sexualized. Like, burger ads are sexualized, car ads are sexualized, you know, anything regarding something that's not heterosexual is sexualized. You know, people were complaining that about gay couples in cartoons. Oh, they kissed twice, y'all. Can you believe it? Can you believe they kissed twice? This shoving this sexual imagery down our kids' throats. I was like, you call that sexual imagery? I think you projecting a little bit. You know what I mean? People sexualize the existence of gay people. You know, a kid thinking a kid of the same gender is cute. People are like, they're sexualizing. They sexualize it out the wazoo. I had this situation that really pissed me off. My little cousin, my My niece was very tomboyish. I was tomboyish. My mom was tomboyish. Like, none of that doesn't actually mean that you're going to be a lesbian or anything. And she had never expressed anything that said whether or not that she was interested in even being romantically attracted to girls. And I had a cousin who decided to, I don't even know what you would call it, but I was just disgusted by it. But like, to go to my young cousin, like not even a preteen, and talk about, do you want to kiss girls and touch them and like do all of these things to try and figure out if she was a lesbian or not. And I thought that was disgusting and very inappropriate. And I was very upset. And I let that person know I was very upset with the way they was talking to my niece. Only to find out when I talked to my mom, she did a similar thing. So if they think you're straight, they just tell you not to have sex because you're, you know, a young black girl, don't be fast, whatever. If they think you might be gay, suddenly straight people think it's okay to discuss sex and genitals with you, no matter how young you are, because they either want to turn you off from it or because they're trying to see if that's what you really are. But you're sexualizing children. Stop. You know, when you talk about a child socially transitioning, adults are suddenly interested in that child's genitals, and I find that to be weird and gross, and they think that they are entitled to be interested in that. And I'm like, no sir, you are not. You know, they'll be like, and their penis, blah, blah, blah. Why are you talking about this little girl penis? Like, why are you talking about what's happening here? Why you worried about, you more worried about what's in their pants than anybody else in this room, and I'm concerned. You know what I mean? I don't sexualize people's existence. You know, I see naked bodies, and it's just naked bodies. You know, woman breastfeeding is a woman breastfeeding. You know, there's nothing sexual about that for me, versus allosexuals will sexualize all of that because of the society we live in. Another fun thing I like to talk about is when I was looking for cars, every time we went to a car lot, when me and my mom used to talk and we was trying to find a car, they would always send out some conventionally attractive dude to try and like get us to first get a car that's way over our price range. Second, get a car that's not the car that we came there for in the first place. And I would always be immediately annoyed. And by the time we got to like the fourth place, I realized what they were doing. But at first I was like, no, I want this type of car for this type of price. Why are you trying to convince me to get other things? Why are they sending you out? And then by the time I got to the fourth place, I was like, okay. I recognized it then because I had a friend who I was like, if my friend was here, she would have fell all over herself for this guy because of like what he looked like, you know, muscular, dark-skinned man. She loves her some chocolate men. And I was just sitting here like, do you even know anything about cars? And they'll be like, oh, I just started working here a couple months ago. Bruh, go away. You can't help me. You just started here a couple months ago. They just told you to get me in a car. Let me talk to somebody who's old with a gut, you know what I mean? Who been doing this for a while, you know, and it was when I went with a man to talk to a man that they knew. So it was an older man that's not conventionally attractive, who had been doing it for a long time. We did the whole haggling back and forth. We left a few times to come back to get the price to where I wanted, to get the car that I wanted with the features that I wanted. And it was like when I was doing it that I realized like asexuals, we don't fall for that shit. You know what I mean? Like I can go and buy something and not be influenced by the fact that in the commercial you had some sexy person using this product. I'm buying a product if I think it's cheap and it's going to do what I need it to do. I'm not buying it because some cute person in the video touched it. I don't know what the fuck. But you guys know what I mean. Those super sexy ads for burgers and cars and anything that they can possibly think of. Something that I also point out is when you look at weeb culture, allosexual weebs in particular, what is usually very problematic is that in Japan, shonen anime is made for preteen boys. And because it's made for preteen boys, even though the characters are also preteen boys, the preteen girls in those shows and the women in those shows are going to have very, very large breasts because they know that that is something that's going to get the preteen boys to watch it because they're horny. They do that on purpose. But when you don't understand that from the marketing aspect of it, and you are an adult watching what is supposed to be a 12-year-old girl, and she is being sexualized, and you are accepting that and enjoying that sexualization, and then you go to Japan, or not even Japan, they don't care as long as she's Asian, you're like, why aren't their boobs bigger? You know what I mean? Why aren't these women as sexy as I want them to be? Because that was marketed that way. And I can see that it was marketed that way. And I can see that I'm not super comfortable with watching stuff like that, where she's supposed to be 12, but it's showing her in this outfit that's showing like her genitals and her boobs and everything. I'm just like, this is weird. Y'all don't think this is weird? And then the hypersexual people are like, nah, that looks great. You know what I mean? You can catch that stuff when you're ace because your brain works differently versus people who sex is tied to everything. They can develop these unhealthy obsessions with characters, unhealthy fetishes with people of certain races because of how they sexualize things. And I would say, like, a struggle of a lot of women of color is that we are hypersexualized. And even if we are sex repulsed, people are going to sexualize us in social media and on the media because of the color of our skin or our ethnicity or whatever. It's unfortunate, but like I said, if there was ever an ace agenda, it would be to separate sex from things that it doesn't need to be. Yasmin Benoit being a aromantic, asexual lingerie model, I think is a really good example of that, because you don't have to sexualize a lingerie model. You don't have to sexualize lingerie. They're clothes. And even if you wanted to be sexy or be sexualized, it doesn't justify any type of sexual abuse that someone might do to you. Now, remember, we have a culture, this hypersexual culture, that says if a woman is wearing a certain thing, then and a man assaults her, that it was her fault because she was wearing a certain thing. Let's desexualize clothing. Even if, and people say, even if she was butt ass naked, it doesn't justify you treating her a certain way, because we want to desexualize bodies. You can have any type of body. You know, I was watching, not gonna be wrong, I don't really like these shows about the obese people, because they are edited in a way that makes them seem gross, basically. But there was this really obese woman who was wearing a bikini, and she was like, it took me so much courage to wear this bikini. And yeah, you got to wear a bikini a certain way when you have that much fat on your body, but she wore it. It's just fine. And when people were sharing it, I talked about the fact that I don't like the fact that the show makes them seem gross. Like the cameraman records them like peeing themselves and stuff. And that made me very uncomfortable, that they would like show that and make it seem like these women are disgusting. But everybody else was like, it's so gross that she thought she could come out here in a bikini looking like that. Okay, not every woman in a bikini is for you to be thinking she's sexy. Maybe she wants to wear a bikini because it's hot as fuck outside. When you're ace, you can separate that. You don't have to look at every naked or half naked body and think that this person has to be sexy to you, because nobody is sexy to you, really. And for me personally, as I only want to see sexualized people or sexualized images in very, very specific contexts. Like, if I choose to watch porn, I am going to the site to watch that, and that's what I'm going to do. I don't like it when I'm on Facebook and I'm just scrolling my feed and my 55-year-old aunt or whatever shares a video of a man and they pull his pants down and you're looking at his naked butt and his wife is like spanking him. And I'm just like, what the fuck is this come from? Why is this here? Who put that there? I'm confused. And then of course, Facebook will be like, this is fine. This is totally within our guidelines. But I only want to see them within a certain context. I don't need my everyday life to be full of these sexualized images. I never understood people who would put half naked women or even naked women on their wall, or who would have a pillow of a naked anime character that they can do stuff with. Like, I never understood just wanting to have that around and like constantly be absorbing that as a part of like your surroundings, because I'm not into sexualizing things. But I like that. I like that I think differently from people. I like that I don't automatically sexualize people or bodies or orientations or children or anything like that. Like, or dance moves. I don't sexualize dance moves. Like, I like that I don't do that, because it gives me the ability to think more clearly about stuff and to actually talk about what is acceptable and what's inappropriate. So I would say those are the joys for me. And there's some other people who experience similar things, and they're like, man, I feel more ace every day because of the fact that, everyone else was looking at these half naked men and I was looking at the cute dog in the back, or I was looking at their kitchen. And I've had situations like that. I have situations where I be watching porn and I be like into the storyline and people laugh at me, and I'm like, sometimes he be having good ass storylines. You want to see the background. You want to see the build up. There's a plot here. What is it? And I might spend time watching that instead of the actual sex part. And it's just something that I think is funny. I like it about me. I like being ace. I don't really want to not be ace. If something happened in the future where I wasn't, I'd probably be a little bummed about it, but I'll be honest about it. I wouldn't continue to try to claim it if it doesn't fit me, which is something that I feel that people are doing. But yeah, I would say that that's a joy of being ace. And I hope that I answered these YouTube questions as good as I did the first time I recorded it. So like I say, like, I don't script these videos because I want to have my natural, authentic initial reaction to things. And so I don't plan out what I'm going to say. I just say what I say. So I'm hoping that, since this is technically my second time recording this specific segment and my fourth time recording period, that the content is still as good as it would have been if you had gotten the initial video that I recorded 2 hours ago. But I want to say thank you to the people who asked these questions. Did I mention everybody's name? Thank you to Team Barbie for Life. Thank you to Levi Bilderback. Thank you to Alec Ghostface, Dave One. Thank you to Siam for posting comments. I'm going to try. I'm not recording it today. I'm done. I'm tired. I'm gonna drink some wine and go to sleep after eating something, of course, because it's lunchtime now. It's past lunchtime now. But addressing the questions that I got on my other social media post, and also an experience of a woman who I know who is married to, and who is asexual, who is married to an allosexual, and how that relationship has progressed and how they make it work. So I'm going to be talking about that in the next video. I'm also going to talk a bit more about the ace community and some of its toxicity surrounding me even asking simple ass questions. So thank you guys for sticking through this video. I hope to see you in the next video. Take care of yourself, drink your water, eat your food, love on yourself, be kind to yourself, give yourself grace because you deserve it, and enjoy the rest of your day. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.